So we're on page, we're the second, I don't have that version of the mimer, you'll figure it out. It's the second chapter, which begins, V'hine b'zoyar chelik beis. You all have that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, basically, the last point that the Frierdiker Rebbe made.
205.
What's the page number?
Page 205 of the Sefer.
205 in the Sefer if you're using the Melukatim, volume 3. So the Rebbe explained to us the last idea is that the source for Oros, the source for energy, is Yud Kei Vav Kei. The source for restrictions is Elokim. That's the summary of what we learned. Okay, so walk away with that and use it as you go on. Let's continue. V'hinei b'zayach chelik beis daf kuf samach aleph amad aleph in the second volume of the Zohar HaKadosh, the Holy Zohar, page 161, folio 1. B'hamavur sham, it's explained over there the inyan ata horei shel Daas isa, regarding the verse in the Torah, ata, you, referring to God, horeisa, have you made yourself apparent, lodas, so that we could know God. That's a verse in the Torah. So the Zohar comments on that verse. Isa, it explains, we find, Omer lein Moshe Yisrael. Moshe says to the Yidden, Ad hashte itztrachina lemelef lechu kama dilfin leravia. Look at the bottom of your commentary. How does he explain that? Until now, it's Aramaic, you've had to learn, you've had to study. What does the word dilfin mean, Avi? What does he say in Hebrew? Hello? You're on mute. I can't hear you.
I don't see where he's.
All Aramaic words are translated into Hebrew in that version of the mimer. Look at the bottom. There has to be. No.
I see Chachma's Moach and Bina Lev is Bina is Lev Chesed is Ro Yamin.
I'm asking you. You're not on the right page. No. Did you follow the text that I just read?
Yes, I did.
And there's no footnote there to give a Hebrew translation of the Aramaic?
It says Ve'etchanan Dalet Lamed Hey.
No, you're reading the wrong footnote. That's for the opening verse. Go to the next page.
Yeah, 12. The Zohar Shelefanenu Ladat Leminada.
Next, you're still at the wrong footnote. Further.
I'm sorry.
Avram, Yoni, do you have it in your text? If you have the text, I don't know.
I thought I was with you, but I guess not.
No, you're not.
I'm not home.
Oh, you're not home. Avram, do you have the text? I can't hear you, Avram.
I have the text, but I don't see any explanation.
It cannot be. It cannot be. I can't. First of all, why can't I see you? Why can't I see?
Footnotes. There's 2 footnotes here. One has 10 and 13. And then there's one beneath that. Like a hey, Hatma, Moach, Renee, Nave. Is that what you mean?
No, further.
That's it.
That's it. Okay. Anyway, so the Zohar says that Moshe said to the Yidden, This is the Zohar's explanation on the verse Ata Horesel Daas. Moshe said to the Yidden, until now, you've had to learn. You've had to learn Kama Dilfin Liravya V'Ulfis Eirhocha Leminda Lustakolo Lemel Beruach Bemnusa Uma Iyu. Until now, you've had to explore and gaze and understand this concept and come to the belief that Ki Hashem Hu Elokim. But it's not enough, the Zohar is saying, to believe that God, Hashem, is Elokim. Belief is not enough. You need to understand it. This is what the Zohar says here. And he says, Hare Yediya Hazois, He Yediya Barura, this Yediya, this knowledge is clear knowledge. Share Neisim Boshir Bo'efen Idea V'Hulas Takola. The Zohar says that until you gaze, histaklut, the word in Hebrew is histaklus, until you gaze upon this idea that Hashem Elokim, you don't have it, you don't own it. It's not v'yodaita. In other words, the Zohar gives us a definition and condition to when you have fulfilled v'yodaita. And what is that? It requires istaklus. Shehu iyun, what is istaklus? Says the Rebbe. Shehu iyun. This is the in-depth understanding, veistaklus, and the gazing. The gazing doesn't mean just looking at God. It means understanding God. And understanding Hashem in a manner of histaklus, of depth, of iyun, depth. You know, in the Gemara, Yoni, we have two sessions in the yeshiva and the kollel. They usually have what they call iyun, in-depth learning, and then they have what's called bikius, cursory learning, in where you gather lots of information, but don't necessarily delve into it deeply, or don't delve deeply into it. That's called, in the yeshiva world, bikius. Okay? Iyun is very different. Iyun le'ayin b'davar, to look deeply into something. So that's the word iyun, refers to depth. Uvabamehu ayediyah v'histaklus. And how will you come to this depth of understanding? Lemeyal beroza de memnusa. By understanding the secret of belief. In other words, the belief that Hashem Elokim, if you gaze into that, if you study that, you will come to a profound belief in God. Hare l'chura, so the Rebbe is asking a question, seemingly, Daas ve'emuna beizin yonim. Faith and knowledge are two separate ideas. I believe does not mean I understand. I understand doesn't mean I believe. And the Zohar HaKadosh over here seems to put them together. Each one of the two, both knowledge, das, and Emuna and faith, are very metuar b'inyonai, are very descriptive, in particular to what they are, which are different than each other. In their very core, they're very different than each other. He explains. The idea of faith, faith is such an experience that the issue that you believe in, that you have faith about, transcend, is above the ability. It's in its essence impossible to understand it and comprehend it, and hence the most you could do with that is have faith. The das, conversely, das, knowledge. Hu yedias v'hargoshas hametzius, it's to know and to feel the existence, the entity, the reality, hahu b'mashahu maven v'yodeya. With it, das, when you talk about a person who has das, according to Chassidus, Yonason, who is a person that has das? Someone that's margish, feels. That's why the Gemara says, Katan ein lo das, ein lo das. A minor doesn't have das. What do you mean doesn't have das? Not that he doesn't have intelligence. He doesn't have recognition and maturity to walk away from what he understands with a different, complete, new set of values. That's called maturity. So the Rebbe says here, real faith is about something that you cannot, not that you cannot, something that does not lend itself in its very own right to comprehension. Whereas Das is just the opposite. Das is a part of the person that allows and requires the entire person, not only with their mind, but with the focus and concentration of their mind. So in other words, the entire person is active and alive in the mode of Das. Whereas in the mode of Emuna, the person is not there. The person and the person's opinion and all of that isn't considered important in the realm of faith. So and he says in Yiddish, Verstehen und fühlen. Das requires understanding and feeling, besichle, within the mind's eye. Das, was versteht und weiß. To feel in the mind's eye this that he understands and knows. V'im kain, if so, ma'u emrei, so therefore he goes back and he questions this piece of Zohar. What does the Zohar say? V'olifas ad hocho leminda l'stakolo l'meil barazav dem nusa. That Moshe is teaching the Yidden, shehu melamed li Yisrael, Moshe is teaching the Yidden, leida l'stakel, v'lichnois b'soidam hamuna. Moshe, in other words, we're talking about ata horeisel das. We're talking about you, God has made yourself apparent, so we should know you. We should be ma'ayin, we should look deeply into you and comprehend and understand you and feel you and be focused and concentrate on you, which is all the mode of knowledge. But yet, the Zohar interprets that very same verse as referring to faith. That's the Rebbe's question. And what is the gate, the opening? And the gate to get in, l'knisazu, to get into this entrance, hu ki Hashem hu elikim. It's to know that Yud Kei Vav Kei is Elokim. Somehow, this idea of knowledge, as we've been explaining at length, that it's an idea of seichel, will give you an opening to Emuna. And that's the Rebbe's question. Seemingly, seichel doesn't lead you to Emuna. Seichel leads you to more understanding and more maturity and more das. Very nice. But faith transcends all of this seichel. That's the question in the Maimer.
Rabbi Delphin?
Yes.
If I may. One of the things about the Mr. Rebbe, where he explains the whole idea of meditation, said that you understand the idea and then you see it becomes so clear, and you put on the glasses of the idea and you see the world through the idea. So I'm thinking that maybe this is the way to do it. You know, you understand something so clearly, and then what happens is it becomes reality to you.
But if it's reality, it's not Emuna, seemingly. Emuna is faith. Emuna is, it's incomprehensible, and I nevertheless believe in it. Here we're talking about an idea that you can comprehend. That's the whole chiddush. V'yodaito hayoim, v'shavosei levavecha.
Right.
So let's see how. I'm not contradicting what you're bringing from the middle of the Rebbe. I'm saying we need to understand it better. That's what the Rebbe is exploring here. Let's continue.
Okay.
The idea is the hiniksiv Moshe. It says Moshe hayoroya. Moshe was a shepherd. Ukemevur Baruch Medrash Rabbah has explained that great length in Medrash. The haroya, that a shepherd. In addition to the fact in addition to a shepherd needing to know and to be an expert in the greenery, right? You don't lead your sheep to stones, to rocks. You need to lead them to a place where they can graze and eat grass, etc. Very beautiful point. And it's interesting that it's Parshas Vayetze, the Shabbos. Aroya, not only must he understand the fertile, good agriculture that he takes his sheep to, but he must have mercy and patience. I love this word, savlanut. Patience. Let's see how he develops it. Because those sheep, they're not like bulls, and they're not like lions, and they're not like deer. They walk very slowly, and they make the sound, you know, they're like an old, excuse the expression, some of us have the white beards, but we're not old, we're young, like an old geezer, as we used to say in Brooklyn. Or in Hebrew, an AK, which I won't say on the screen, an AK, figure it out yourself. And the guy's barely moving and schlepping, and every other day it's an appointment with a doctor. You gotta have a lot of patience. A lot of patience. And I always say, when I lose my patience in the situation, hey, I want to be old. I want to be, gesund. And maybe one day I'll be an AK. And I want people to have mercy on me and be patient with me. So I should do the same for them. Let's continue. Moshe Rabbeinu olav hasholem hu raya mehemne. Moshe Rabbeinu of blessed memory, he is the loyal, the loyal shepherd. Raya mehemne. Moshe Rabbeinu hu azonu mefarnas, for Moshe Rabbeinu is the one that feeds and sustains as Nishmas Yisrael, Jewish souls, the Hamazon, the Emuna, with the food of faith. Avram, did you ever hear this thought? Moshe Rabbeinu feeds us. He's called a shepherd. What does he feed the Jewish people with? Faith. That's the food that he feeds us, not seichel. That we don't need Moshe Rabbeinu. We need Moshe Rabbeinu to feed us faith, to build our faith in God. And he, as a intermediary between God and the Jewish people, being Moshe Rabbeinu, he feeds and fed the Jewish people with faith.
Rabbi,
Yes.
sorry for interrupting. I remember